Hey y'all, Ramdino here, coming at you again for another Appalachian Trail community news, through hiker update, and trail information. Well, sorry I wasn't here last week for that update. Don't know if you missed me or not, but I was dealing with my own bout of COVID. That is still got some lingering effects, still a little bit of cough, a little bit of fatigue, a little bit of brain fog. I can tell you that all those things are very real. Brain fog's a real thing. If I didn't think I had it before, I knew I had it last week. But I'm getting better. Appreciate everybody telling me their prayers and sending me their good wishes and everything else. That means a lot to me. But let's go ahead and get on with what's going on out there with the trail. So we got folks out there that are currently out there on the trail that are hiking. We got Lazarus. He crossed the Hudson River and he stayed at the Graymore Spiritual Center, which is a like a monastery that's run by a ministry of the Franciscan Friars of the Atonement. And so they let you come and stay there. I'm not sure what the fee is, if there is a fee there, or what the amenities is, if they give you anything besides letting you stay there. But if you know that, leave something down in the description and let me know. But he indicated that New York is straight up and straight down, and they don't know a thing in the world about switchbacks there. He also indicated that finding some reliable water sources had been an issue. Popeye, he has hit New York. He did the Warwick Theater there and said he enjoyed that, and he has Connecticut in his sights. Gazelle, Bricks, KT, and Grandmaster, they are through the presidentials, and they hit the summit of Mount Washington on a good shirt sleeve day. Just last week, it was rime ice was noted up there, and we'll talk about it in just a minute, but we had a tragedy that occurred up there in the presidential. So it was quite a mess up there last week, but they caught it at a great time. Mishap and Amethyst, they're Sobo, and they are through the 100-mile wilderness, and they are somewhere south of Monson. Supersport and Horseshoe, they are through the Rhone, and they plan to do some aqua blazing around miles 428 to 449 by kayak. So I'm assuming that's going to be somewhere on Lake Watauga, and it is pronounced Lake Watauga, not Watauga. And then they are going to be on to Damascus. Lolly and Pops, they are somewhere around Damascus. Spider's in New York, and she said New York is tough. Has lots of rock scrambles. Now, Spider loves rock scrambles, but she said it's been hard, but so much fun. She decided from here on out to kind of lower her mileage some. At the pace she's going to be due to finish by the end of July, and she wants to savor every little moment out there, and so she intends to slow down a little bit. Now, Spotter's our go-getter. We'll see if that happens out there for her. Blaze Dog, he is off trail and doing some family business, and also taking the time to recoup after doing an endo and a face plant. His support team shows up, wanted to know what is the average amount of falls for a thru hiker. So I have no idea what the average amount is. If you have fallen this year, you're a thru hiker, or if you've been a thru hiker in the past, leave a comment down below. Let us know how many times you fell. Gumby had a delicious free hiker dinner at the Lutheran Church there in Duncannon, and indicated that they have one there every Wednesday from May through July. So if you're going through Duncannon, take advantage of that free hiker dinner there at the Lutheran Church. And Gumby has left that town and is well up north of Susquehanna. Jaws, who is new to the channel and is a teacher, is trying to do a through in 100 days over his teacher summer, meaning while he's out from school, he's going to be trying to do the whole trail. So it's currently should be somewhere past mile 1,000 on day like 55 or something like that, being supported by his family, and said that he is enjoying the trail, loving it, but he's still trying to make that time there for him. Syrup and Airbag, they have reached the quarter-way sign, so congratulations to them. They said since Grayson Highlands, they've seen lots of hikers that have been sick, possibly with noro. Said water sources have been scarce in that area, and the privies are also getting close to full. So all that's to be expected, especially from when you hit the climb up the Chestnut Knob and all the way into around Trent's Grocery. That's all. There's very little water sources through there. Talking Head got started on his Sobo, and he is now well south of Monson. Elias and Pocket Rocket, they are in Massachusetts now. So you'll recall that Elias has been hiking by himself, but Pocket Rocket was his girlfriend. She came out, hiked with him just a little bit, then she started later, started 52 days after he did, and she caught up to him. and she is they're all now together north of mile 1468, and they'll hike the rest of the trail together. They said the gypsy moths are pooping all over everything, and the ground is littered with them poop. So they also indicated Papa Joe's their shuttle driver and was telling him how the gypsy moths up there have been killing a lot of trees, and they indeed have seen huge swatches of dead trees up through there. Outback, who is on the ECT, but right now he's on the AT treadway, is currently north of Stratton, Maine, and he had stayed at the Maine Roadhouse. He'll be ferrying over to Kennebuck probably today, and said the ferry hours there are 9 to 11, but on July 1st they'll be moving and increasing those hours to 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., so giving hikers a bigger window of time, also anticipating the bubble being more of the bubble being in that area. Forerunner has made it to Harper's Ferry and is now north of the Eckville shelter. Al from the Adventure Together channel and from merry old London is north of Harper's Ferry. Holy Roller, Red Panda, and Al, don't know if that's the same one as above. And if it is, or if it isn't, whoever it is, this particular Al now has a trail named Lookout. And they hit Harper's Ferry this week. And they also did the Maryland Challenge, and they did that in 21 hours. Pathfinder is done with Pennsylvania and had a bear in the trail encounter. So there was a bear that Pathfinder had to scare out of the middle of the trail, and it took a while for that bear to move on out of the area. Rock and Roll is entering the Shanties. Come Along, Cricket, Strider, and Hobbit, they made it to Harper's Ferry, and they have also made it to the 2020 halfway point. So this is the 2020 sign. Of course, the trail got longer, so now the last year in 2021 got a little bit longer, so there was a new, smaller sign moved up. And I think that was actually put out by had a bear on it, a COVID bear. And that was put out by, he's going to kill me. He watches the channel. But anyway, he put a sign out and did that. And then now there is probably going to be a new sign because, well, here in just a minute, we've actually added another 0.2 of a mile to the trail, and that's happened this year. But anyway, they've crossed that point. Radioactive has crossed into New York. Dandelion is out of Roxylvania and has crossed into New Jersey. Roadrunner, Fox, Cheeseball, and Groceries, they are almost done with Pennsylvania. Gaia has hit Connecticut. Professor K, he is in Connecticut and says the gypsy moths are bad there. Backtrack, Syrup, Noah, MG, and Patrick, they are out of the 100-mile wilderness and finish in Maine on their Subo trip. Lost Johnny is somewhere around Port Clinton, and he has been hiking with Rainbow for the last little bit. Moss and Little Chap, they are now north of Palmerton. And Straps, T, Chatterbox, and Boston, they have made it to New Hampshire. They said that the cold snap and the warm weather there, they didn't have any problems with the bugs. And it looks like they hit it just right because not only didn't have any problem with the bugs, but they didn't have any problems with mud and vermud. So that's awesome. Real glad to hear that. Hopefully for my trip coming up middle of July, that will hold out and won't have bugs and mud problems in vermud either. So off trail, Zizzy got off trail, but she's, well, actually she's off her through hike, but not off the trail. So she's an official lasher now. She made it to Hamburg, Pennsylvania, but had some problems with her knees, ankles, and the bottoms of her feet due to the rocks there, Pennsylvania, like a lot of people do. And so she is going to flip on up to New Jersey and then pick up the trail from there. And then she intends to end her time on trail in September 10th, wherever she is. So the plans are to come back and finish up the rest of it next year that she doesn't finish this year. Lucky Moon is off trail permanently for her through hike, but plans to finish up some skip sections this year and then the remainder next year. And then she also indicated she was out in the Smokies picking up an area she missed there and spotted this big guy up in a tree. So bears are still a factor out there, folks. Don't forget that. Boogie On is off trail due to a badly sprained MCL and a nasty bone contusion. So she said the good news is she's got 6 weeks of PT and no surgery. So I guess that's no surgery is good news. I'm not sure about the PT, but bad news is no hiking for at least 8 weeks to allow the contusion to heal. So she plans on doing some trail magic once she gets her PT schedule worked out there. So appreciate that, Boogie On. Sorry you had to get off trail. Rogue is off due to some major knee and muscle pain and just decided to get off before permanent injury was done. Roe's going to finish some sections and made it as far as Blacksburg, Virginia area, which is around the Triple Crown area. Trippy's off trail, and then World Record is off trail. Had to go back home to Switzerland because their visa expired. So I know we've had a few summits since my last update. The only ones I could that I knew of was Green Pig and Professors, and they were number 4 and 5. But I know we've had some others. So if you're out there on the trail and you want to be part of this update, please, down in the description section below, there's email. You can send it to me through email or either through a DM through Instagram or Facebook. And then also, if you summit, we want to celebrate with you and include your picture here on the channel. So please send us your pictures of your summit picture, whether it's your summiting at Katahdin or if you're summited down at Springer. So obviously it's really early to be summiting at Springer, but send me those summit pics, we'll celebrate with you. So some trail news we got out there. Spineless Cougar, he is a trail angel, and he had set up some trail magic up in White Rocks, Vermont, and had about 10 AT hikers and long trailers and 8 long trailers come through there. So he said the bubble's getting close. Whispers, who's our northern correspondent and kind of handles the whites for us a lot, he said that last week there was snow and ice on the high peaks up in the whites. We'll hear about that in just a minute. The bug report, he said there's definitely black fly and mosquito season was up there in the northern mountains, and they've been getting pretty swarmed since the first week of May, but that should subside sometime around the first week in July. Mud season definitely here, but it is on its way out. And he indicated that work for stay is going to be, he thought was going to be a little tight this year because the AMC is up for its 30-year renewal, so they kind of want to be toeing the line with the Park Service. However, he said he's already talked to some folks in the huts up there, and they are letting more than their quota of work for stay be there at those huts. But keep in mind, though, that now you've got 2 converging bubbles. You've got the Nobo bubble, first the front of the Nobo bubble and the front of the Sobo, and as those bubbles converge and merge there in the whites, everybody will be wanting work for stay, so there's going to be a lot more competition for that, and there's only so many people that they're going to allow to do that. Sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 4, just depends on the size of the hut you're at, and really what the caretakers up there, what kind of mood they're in. So keep that in mind when you're up there. And he sent in a story that shows just yet another way how the trail brings people together. Even from years ago, he said he ran into 3 Nobo section hikers, 2 of which he'd ran into in the Roan Highlands in 2006. So I guess that's 12 years ago. He ran into some people in the Roans, and he ran into them again up there in the whites, and they recognized each other. So you can imagine how they changed over those years, and they still recognize each other. So I think that's just pretty neat how the trail brings people together like that. We've also got another new Northern Correspondent up there in the whites, and this guy is his trail name is Roll Tide, and he's actually a caretaker for the AMC system, and he is caretaking at the Noman tent site there in the white. So if you stay with him up there at the Noman tent site, tell him Ramdino says hey, and to keep these reports coming in. Says the bugs have been bad, but they're slacking off. Water sources are good. Said winter made an encore last week in the mountains, and up there in the whites, he said that it had 1 inch of snow and the wind chills had been down into the single digits. He had 2 folks that tried and successfully left the tent site and made it up to the Lake of the Clouds, but they were battered by weather and they were almost hypothermic. And that particular, this been like a week ago, that particular weekend, there was another hiker that actually perished trying to make a run through the Presidential, which is about a 20-mile run through there, hits Madison and Washington, some of these other peaks up through there. And he texted his wife around 6:30 and said he was cold and wet and without a rescue. He didn't think he was going to make it. She contacted people, the rescue folks up there. They were already had since 2 p.m. that afternoon. Other hikers who were not prepared, had been out in the weather, were calling in, so they had to call in reinforcements. They got to him sometime around 9:30, at 10:38. So they started in at 9:30 and 10:30 from 2 different trailheads north and south of him. Got to him around 10:38. He was pretty much unresponsive at that point. They got him warmed up, built a shelter around him. They felt like they had some signs of life, so they got him up to the summit. where he had to take a truck. They put him in a truck there, took him down to an ambulance, and he got in the ambulance at 1:20. And after several hours of working in the hospital, he did not make it. So they had to brave somewhere around 15 rescuers up there braved rain, driving rain, snow, blowing snow, 50 to 60-mile-an-hour sustained winds with 80-mile-an-hour gusts. So wind chills were probably down below zero at that point. So it is unfortunate that the guy perished, and we hate that when anybody perished. But this is what happens not only when people go into an area that they're unprepared for physically, but with gear. But they also don't know to get down to lower elevation, get down out of the wind, get down to where it's warmer. They call people too late, and not only do people die, but you put other people, rescuers, at risk. And so it's very unfortunate all that happens. But please, folks, if you start thinking you're getting in trouble, get out of trouble sooner rather than later. Don't put other people's lives at danger out there. And then we also had a hiker that had to be evacuated out of the shanties. She was cooking and spilt the boiling water on her lap and her legs, and so they had to evacuate her out by helicopter. Got her to a nearby burn center where she's going to have skin grafts. And so her hiking season is done and probably be scarred for life. Very unfortunate. So be thinking and praying for her as she goes through that healing process. And then we also have a thru hiker from 2020 who had to get off due to COVID, but he made it at least as far as the North Carolina-Georgia line. But you may have seen this in the news, you may not realize who you were looking at. But his name is Alex Drucke. He's from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and he was fighting for Ukraine, in Ukraine, fighting the Russians, and he was captured. And now the Russians has put him on trial and are talking about giving him the death penalty. So this was one of our own, a hiker that hiked in 2020 again on the AT. And so if you pray, be praying for him and his mother Bunny, and just be praying that some miracle will happen here, and they will not follow through with that. Lampshade, who is a lasher, but he's been one of our mobile correspondents out there on the trail. He is finishing up 2 weeks in Vermont and 2 weeks in New Hampshire. He said the bugs are never really bad. The flies are not that bad. The only onslaught he had from the flies was around Mount Schuyler and Mount Killington. And then a bear had to be euthanized in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park after coming into a campsite there at Elk Mott campsite. He actually got into a tent and scratched up, clawed, I believe it was a mother and her daughter. And this was a campsite, so it's not on the trail, but it was a typical campsite where people that are not hikers come to camp. So a lot of dogs, a lot of people around there, but he came in here because it was a food-rich environment, and he just ripped into their tent about 5:20 a.m. and so they had to put the bear down. So that's unfortunate. Remember that, to not sleep with your food, whatever you're using for bear containment, whether it be a bear can or you're hanging it up in the tree, please continue to do that. And then there is a 3.25 mile section around Palmerton, Pennsylvania, where the AT has recently been relocated and recently opened up in the past few weeks. And so this actually makes the AT another 0.2 tenths of a mile, or 0.2 of a mile, 2/10 of a mile longer. So if you hike through this section before it opened up, you've got a shorter hike as a thru hiker this year than people that came through after you. But this is somewhere around mile 1262. This past week was Hike Naked Day, or Hike Naked Week. I think Hike Naked Day was June 21st. I want to thank all you hikers out there, particularly folks that update me, for not sending me in your hike naked pictures. Thanks a lot for not doing that. Quite frankly, a lot of you folks out there look a whole lot better with clothes on than you do without, and so thanks for not sending those pictures in. Folks, thanks for tuning in this week. As always, appreciate you, and we'll see you out here.